This has to be the craziest story I've ever heard, but you have to stick with me. So on January 25th, 2018, police were called to investigate the death of a 71-year-old man named Alan J. Abrahamson, who appeared to be the victim of a homicide. He had been shot in the chest and was laying in an open field. But his personal items were still on him, so it didn't appear to be a robbery. There was also no weapon or shell casings, but there was a small pair of scissors with string and rubber bands next to his body. During their investigation, police sat down with his friends and family who had no idea who could have wanted him dead. And a $3,000 reward also drew no leads. Surveillance video was obtained a few days after his death showing Alan walking down a sidewalk and off camera with something in his left hand. About 37 minutes pass, and then a gunshot can be heard. Police skimmed through as much personal information as they could when they finally came across something that caught their eye. Just before his death, Alan had purchased 2 large helium tanks, and on Christmas Day the year prior, he'd purchased himself a weather balloon. At first, they thought maybe he had an interest in becoming an aerial photographer, as many people tie GoPros to weather balloons to get footage like this. But it also became known that Alan had a collection of old classic books, including the works of Sherlock Holmes. They then turned their attention to the Sherlock Holmes story called The Problem of Thor Bridge, and an episode of CSI Las Vegas. Investigators began speculating that Alan may have tried reenacting something like the plot of one of those sources. And when they stumbled across his Google Voice searches, it only solidified their theories more. Alan J. Abrahamson went out into the field that day, tied his gun around a string and attached it to his weather balloon. After shooting himself in the chest, the weather balloon carried the gun away from the scene, making his death look like a homicide. Why? One of his Google searches made it seem as though he was afraid that if it was found out that he took his own life, his family might not receive the payout from his life insurance.
Life insurance policies pay for suicide.
But it's also possible that he just didn't want his family to bear the burden of knowing that he wanted to take his own life. So he staged a homicide instead. Neither the weather balloon or the weapon has ever been recovered, and it's believed that the balloon probably popped somewhere above the Atlantic Ocean.